Well, hello, folks. This is Joe Firestone for Empowering Democracy. And I'm here with one of my guests, specifically Gregory Mallard, the activist from Georgia, the exponent, of MMT, and the organizer who hopes to organize the whole state of Georgia to support the Dump the Corruption campaign, and who will be starting his own live stream in a very short time now, dealing with the Dump the Corruption movement. So, we've now gone through 16 streams dealing with how we can make the Dump the Corruption movement actually happen. And we've begun to zero in on what the format of our upcoming Dump the Corruption streams ought to be like, the format, the structure, the content, to support the Dump the Corruption campaign. They will, of course, not themselves be the whole Dump the Corruption campaign, but they will be programs 3 times a week that will support the campaign, specifically through the examination of the records of candidates. There will be another 2 programs per week on empowering democracy more generally, but we'll also discuss some issues concerning the 3 programs that will be focused on the candidates themselves. Anyway, in the course of these conversations, we have come to agreement, it seems, that it would be a good idea to have another set of activities accompanying these streams. And the idea that we came up with is having another team other than ourselves, though we who have the talent would not be barred from this other team. But what we would do is all we can to set up another team. Hello, Dee.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm
Good to
doing
be
fine.
here.
We just about reached the point where we're talking about the idea of the meme team, as it were, of graphics designers that would be operating on an independent basis from ourselves. In other words, we're the stream team.
Right.
There would also be a meme team.
Okay.
And the meme team would work in collaboration with the stream team, would be independent of the stream team. Now, usually, traditionally, in some of the previous programs we've done on many subjects, the graphics are very often restricted to the promo that goes in front of the streams. And, the graphics people we've worked with have been kind enough to do promos for us. But in this idea, the graphics people would have their own activities done continuously, they'd be taking ideas from the dump the correction. Okay, I have an echo. I don't know why I have an echo.
Well, never mind mute. All the dogs are barking here.
I'm sorry, say that again. Oh, okay.
My dogs are barking here. Now they stopped. Okay.
Oh, okay. But I don't think they were causing the echo.
I
Uh,
just mute when I hear them barking.
oh, okay. It's okay, pretty well gone now, I think. Okay, so this team would be, as I said, completely independent and would be undertaking their own activities with the goal of having maybe as much as a few memes per day. Of course, the quantity of memes they want to produce would be up to the team. But the basic idea is that each day there would be meme activity going on and produced by this team to spread the dump the corruption ideas that we would be generating in the stream teams.
Okay. New Jersey Peace Action. Hi, all. I can't get into the studio for some reason. Is that Madeline?
The Jersey Peace Action, what's that?
Is that Madeline?
Uh, yeah, Madeline hasn't appeared yet.
No, New Jersey Peace Action.
That's probably
Um,
Madeline. Okay, that's
yeah, that's what I was
probably,
thinking.
but I don't see her in my listings below.
Yeah, she says Madeline right there. Okay,
Uh,
because you also listed it in the Brandy and D chat.
all right,
You joined.
In the Brandy and D chat, I listed the StreamYard link. She must not have the StreamYard link. So she should get that from the Brandy and D chat. I didn't put it in the public purpose chat. I did have time today. So if she's looking for the link, she can find it.
Let's see.
Okay, so going on, the objective would be to have the graphics people doing continuous memes, okay, along with us to amplify what we're doing, but they could also get their own ideas about, the Stop the Corruption campaign and could do memes based on their own ideas also. That would be perfectly fine.
Let me see something.
Okay, so that would be an activity that would be complementary to our own, but would also amplify, okay, our own activity. Then, in my idea, we would amplify what they were doing because we would take 10 minutes of each show to go over their new memes and to talk about the connection of their new memes to the ideas we were trying to spread. So when we talk about the structure and the content of our uh, streaming shows, okay, and Dump the Corruption, uh, roughly 1/5 or 1/6 of those shows would pick up the memes and try to boost their memes so more people would be looking at those memes. So they would boost us by doing memes based on our ideas, and we would boost them by getting people to look and circulate their memes on various platforms, TikTok, also Twitter, okay, also Facebook, okay, and YouTube, okay, and other platforms as well, as many platforms as we could find. So they would be a complementary activity to our own activity, and the two activities would be mutually reinforcing. And that also suggests the more general idea of what other activities should we be beginning to support this particular movement. Okay, and uh, so far we're talking about streaming and doing memes and circulating the memes. But obviously, there should be campaign activities outside of the internet as part of the general movement before Dump the Corruption. And we should, try to generate ideas about that and bring those ideas to the floor of our continuing discussions. So that's what I want to say about that. Any comments or discussion on that idea?
I was also thinking that when we're talking with these candidates who are going to run for office, is seeing what their opinion is of dumping the corruption, seeing how they plan on taking action to dump it as we know it, and see if they'll be on board with us throughout this whole movement to get elected representatives who are not taking the big money from the big donors, who are not going to hotel retreats and all these backdoor meetings as an elected official and all that.
Yes, I think that's a good idea too. Is that a separate activity, or is that something we would be covering in these streams?
It would be something that we could do all together.
Would we want to do
covered in the streams, and also interviewing candidates who are going to run for office and all that? And that's something I would like to do, is interview candidates as well.
There's Madelyn. Hey, Madelyn.
Hello there. Sorry about that.
That's quite all right. I know it perhaps wasn't easy to find the link tonight because I was rushed in scheduling the show. So that was a little bit of a problem. Okay, here's where we are, in the discussion. In the previous sessions that we've had, we've mentioned, an idea that we ought to try to get graphics people who generally support us to start an activity of their own. Just as we've become a stream team, we want them to become a meme team. First of all, we want them to create themselves, and then we want also to have them be, a meme team, which would be dedicated to generating memes on a daily basis, supporting and spreading the Dump the Corruption ideas that we're generating in our streams. And we, in turn, would support them by devoting 10 minutes of our nightly programs to the memes they generated. So this would be an idea for collaboration between the stream teams, and the meme teams, just as we try to support ourselves by using Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee and stuff like that. They could also try to support themselves by having an account, at Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee or some other platforms to try to generate support for their continued creation, of the memes. And what I mean is by financial support here. So they would be able to get something out of it from a financial point of view, just as we hopefully would get something out of our participation also by each of us having accounts to raise, some money for our activities. Who knows? It wouldn't be very difficult for the meme team to be able to raise much more support for themselves than we are able to do for ourselves, because it isn't easy to get support from Buy Me a Coffee and Patreon, and so on.
Or PayPal, Venmo, Cash App.
Sure. Sure, Cash Out or Zelle. Okay, there are lots of ways in which you can, transmit contributions to people. So that's the basic idea, okay, of the meme team. And so we generated the idea last time, and we want to discuss it in more detail here, which is what we were doing when you came in. Okay, and then we concluded with a broader idea, which was what other activity streams should be generating to support the Dump the Corruption campaign, other than doing the streams and doing the memes. And Greg suggested that we should be supplying some interviews, and he said he was very interested in supplying interviews with candidates who believed in the Dump the Corruption idea and who would run themselves, taking only small donations, and we would give them a platform, and perhaps in his own streams he would be doing a lot of work in interviewing candidates. I think you said that you would like to do that, Greg.
Yeah, that would be something I would really love to do, to get them on board with the Dump the Corruption movement, so that way we can get candidates who have signed on to the idea of dumping the corruption in our government. So that way we do have representatives who make more, like Jesse Ventura, for example, back in 98. He spent far less to get the job than what he made as governor. So that's what we need to be going for, is what he did as well.
Yes, I agree. We also should be trying to orient these other candidates towards making it a central feature of their campaigns that the people they were running against were taking big money and thus were much more likely to represent their big donors than they were to represent the voters themselves. Okay, in other words, our candidates should be wrapping an attack on their opponents because they are taking the big money, and because that's really a central issue. It's a central issue of democracy. Who are they going to be representing? The big money they're taking, okay, or their voters? Okay, and I think that one reason why the donors have become so important is that no one really makes that an issue. Even in the campaign that just passed, at most, some people who are running as small donor progressives still weren't making the corruption that comes from the big money a central feature of the campaign. But certainly Nina Turner was not effective in using that against Chantel Brown, because she emphasized it far too little in her campaign. Okay, and the same is true of Summer Lee, actually. Summer Lee won. She emphasized it, of course, to some degree in her campaign, but she did not make the central feature of her campaign that, listen, voters, but my opponent is taking huge amounts or getting huge amounts of money from special interests. If that's the case, and if you do vote for her, who do you think she will represent? The donors or yourselves? Okay, you just raise the question and let people answer it for themselves. And it should be pretty transparent to them that they should never vote for someone who's going to represent the donors and not the voters. And I'd like to see every one of the candidates we support as alternatives to the current candidates to make that a central feature of their campaign, because that amplifies the dump the corruption idea and also brings them great advantage, okay, in running. Okay, but apart from those views, what's important, I think, is that this is another activity that we should adopt for our campaign, because it gives people a place to go. In other words, if they're going to be voting against the Republicans and Democrats who are taking the big money, they have to have alternatives of their own, or at least it would be much more successful if they did have some positive alternatives. And so that is a very important activity, and it is one that we should support. Okay. Any other ideas for further activities to strengthen the Dump the Corruption campaign?
Well, Joe,
One thing I would like to see in regards to the graphic circulation is also we can share it on Facebook, on whatever social networking platform we're on, like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, MeWe, if you're on there, and get more people involved there. And that way we can grab a lot more support that way. So that way we show them what we're all about and
Yes.
give them a message that we support, that we are of, by, and for the people rather than of, by, and for the large corporate donors and the special interest groups.
Right. I couldn't agree more, Greg. Okay, Madelyn, you had something to suggest.
Yeah, I've already taken action on it, as you know, Joe. I've invited, I've asked the elections committee of the New Jersey Greens to invite you and, to speak at one of our meetings. So I think we could be proactive in terms of reaching out to organizations that might want to hear the message. In addition to the social media, which is also proactive for sure, people we know, extending invitations to the team to speak, and that one will be the third Thursday of January. That
The
particular
third
meeting.
Thursday of January. Okay.
Mhm. And it would be at 7. I think it'll be before 9, well before 9.
Okay.
But if there are memes or if there are anything that could be used to promote the event, that might be a good time to roll it out. Roll out even just a little piece of it.
Okay. So how should we title the outside activities? Should we call it?
Outreach? I mean, are you talking about
Outreach.
Yes, outreach.
Yes,
Well,
call it outreach activities.
yeah. And some of them will be on social media platforms. Some of them will be word of mouth. Some of them, is a
Will be
whole
in
variety.
person. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So
Okay,
that was the idea.
Okay, so that gives us now, we've just talked about 4 activity streams. Our own stream teams, the mean teams, the interviewing of alternative candidates, okay, and the outreach activities, 4 streams of activities already. So that's very, very good. Okay, Dee, do you have any ideas?
Not at the moment. I'm just taking everything in.
Okay, great. Okay, so maybe we leave this issue for now. I shouldn't say issue, it's not an issue, but this subject for now. Okay, and we can move on to the structure and content of the Empowering Democracy streams on the Dump the Corruption. Okay, so based on our discussions so far, of course, I indicated if we were successful in getting the meme teams going, then we would be devoting 10 minutes of each program to going over the memes and talking about that. So that would be part of the program. Then a very large part of the program would be going over, I'm not sure what number would be practicable here yet, but I'm sort of thinking that maybe we could do 3 candidates per stream. So that would come to 9 candidates per week if we're doing 3 streams per week that are devoted simply to the dump the corruption aspect of empowering democracy. So with 9 candidates per week, okay, if we wanted to finish the Congressional Progressive Caucus, we could do so, in roughly 11 weeks. Okay, it's 11 weeks, okay, and a fraction. And what would we be doing? We would be reporting on the monetary contributions from big donors that were going to the progressives. I shouldn't say the members of the CPC in Congress at this point, who I guess claim to be progressive by being members of the CPC, we would be telling the truth about them in terms of who was taking the big money and who was not. So I guess we can call that the expose, a portion of the Embracing Democracy, Dump the Corruption streams. So we could finish that, as I said, in 9 weeks and a fraction. And then we could begin to concentrate, okay, on other content that was relevant to Dump the Corruption. But even in terms of the original 10 to 11 weeks, we would say have 10 minutes for the meme teams, maybe 40 minutes or 45 minutes for the candidates. What is that? That's roughly 55 minutes. That doesn't leave any time, okay, for anything else. We should also have 10 minutes being set aside for general issues that come up in the Dump the Corruption area. Okay, this might involve some news that comes out around the world with Brandy and Dee's show, some news that comes out of Greg's streams, but some news that in some way is relevant to Dump the Corruption in general.
Well, Joe, around the world also, and all the money that's going to feed the war machine. And I've seen some harrowing information about some of the military contractors and how much money they're making. And then if you turn that into, well, who's accepting the money from those military contractors, you get to the whole issue of corruption. So I think that's another source potentially for information.
Yes, I think that's another source too. Uh, okay, so let's do the memes. Okay, let's do the candidate content I spoke about, and then let's do this feature. What's going on with the contributions from supporters of the military in relation to keeping the war machine going. I think that's compelling, especially right now,
Mhm.
in the context of the crisis we're currently experiencing. Okay, so that's kind of a show right there. And then
And
we,
all, and also we need to also be highlighting how what's going on with these wars is a major contributor to climate change as well. And that's one important thing that we need to also discuss as well with our movement. So that way we can see what the cost of war is really doing to our planet.
that's good. But in terms of the confines of an hour show, I can't do everything. Okay, at
That's
the
true.
start. So the way this might happen, though, I think this should happen. Okay, once when we cover the candidates and do the research on the candidates, I've said that's going to take roughly from 10 to 11 weeks. Okay, if that takes from 10 to 11 weeks, then we have the issue of what will be the succeeding content. So I propose that the succeeding content uh, should deal with the consequences of not prioritizing but dump the corruption as the first thing voters ought to do. And that's where we get into the area of the impact of contributions on sustaining the war machine, the impact of those donor contributions on not dealing with the climate emergency, the impact of those contributions on our failure to deal with the healthcare emergency, okay, in this country, the impact of the contributions on the way we formulate our foreign policy and engage in imperialism all over the world. These are different categories of content that we can cover after we do the issue of candidate funding from the big donors. So if we define things as the first 11 weeks will be about the donors, uh, who's taking the money. The second period following that will be on the impact of the money. And I don't know yet how many weeks that ought to encompass. Perhaps we do that for a period of time, another 9 or 10 weeks, and then we come back to the candidates again and we analyze what changes have occurred, uh, what changes in donor strategy have occurred, okay, what changes in donor impact on the Congress people have occurred. Okay, so we go back to that for a period of time, let's say, I don't know, another 10 weeks or 8 weeks or something like that. Then we come back again to the issue of the impact that the donor money is having in specific issue areas, which are very important. Okay, we do that for a while. Then we come back to the candidates again to see if there's been any change in the pattern of what's going on with the candidates. And we operate sort of in that kind of alternating pattern until we get close to the elections of 2024.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's what we should do for these 3 programs a week, okay, that I'm talking about. And if the 3 programs a week are not enough, I'm perfectly willing to expand them to 4 and then to 5 if we need all 5 days a week to handle this. How do we know if we're going to need more time? Well, it's got to be based on whether we're making substantial progress with the 3 programs a week. If we're not, then we're going to have to go to 4 for a while, and then we'll have to go to 5 for a while. We'll just have to do the best we can do to get the campaign started from the stream team point of view.
Mm-hmm. And then we'll analyze that as well.
Yeah, we'll analyze that as well. And then you'll be coming in with your streams,
Mm-hmm.
okay, on the positive aspect of things, but you'll do stuff, on the negative, dump the corruption aspect also, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you're interested, okay, in doing that as well.
Yeah, because what I would like to do is also cover the pros and cons, like you just said, the negative and the positive aspects of everything. So that way we can learn and then grow from what we have learned.
When we were talking yesterday, we pointed up that there was, I forget the issue we were talking about. It was a particular, I think it was the green issue, actually, that the green issue is often not related to the impact of the donations. And we went through a discussion, but I'm showing how the donor universe and its contributions was impacting our failure to meet the climate emergency. Okay, and I remember, even though it might not look entirely obvious to certain people, as we drew the threads of that discussion out, it turned out we could pretty much tie what the donors had been doing to the failure to deal with the climate emergency. Also, I think we mentioned the failure to deal with the pandemic, okay, and so on. And so this is a pattern of analysis we should be continually using in our shows to try to point up to people how damaging this money in politics is, and how important it is for us to get the money out of politics. So these issue discussions should also have a big part of our streams.
Yeah, all of these issues should have a very vital impact on how we conduct our streams, and we also need to bring in the data to highlight everything as well, so that way we have a proper analysis of what's being discussed.
Yes, I agree. So Madelyn, did you have any other ideas in relation to content of these shows?
I'm unmuting myself.
Yes.
No, not really. We might need to do is develop a list of outreach place people to reach out to. groups to reach out to. But I don't think that that's directly related to the shows. It doesn't sound like that's going to be directly related to the shows, unless, maybe that's another place for where you're talking about news, things that have come up. Maybe it's not only news that's issue based, but news about, like, I don't know, there was a presentation made in Ohio by the Dump the Corruption
Yes,
group, and mhm,
the amplification of our outreach.
exactly, yeah,
The
that would be,
amplification of our outreach is another thing that should appear on our shows.
yes, I think so. Plus perhaps a regular, I don't know, a ticker at the bottom, or something that's posted on each one, inviting people who are listening, who are interested in learning more about this, to reach out to. I guess it would be to you, Joe. But we would put in an email address or something that would run on the show at the bottom, or just be posted at the end of the show or the beginning of the show, or beginning, middle, and end. For people who are interested in learning more. We have a speakers bureau. Please, invite us by contacting us here.
Yes, I think that is a good idea. We might leave a number of email addresses of
Yes.
people on our panel, because basically our panel is a team,
Mm-hmm.
and so people can contact whoever they would like to contact on the team to learn more, and then we could decide how to handle the requests.
I think that would be good, and I think that we don't know who we're reaching with these shows, and we're hoping to get beyond the, grow the list, build the audience.
Yes.
And
I
so,
did take this stream tonight and share it in the official Georgia Green Party group.
okay,
That would be good.
yeah.
Oh,
See, because
yeah.
that would be another place. I mean, one thing we need to emphasize is that we're not, how to put it, but this is not taking away, say, the key values of the Greens, or the main principles of the Greens, or libertarians, or whomever. But it is trying to build a unified message around corruption.
Yes.
And so if there's other things that the Greens do, or the libertarians, or the reforms, if there are other things that other groups do, fine. But the idea here, so for example, taking it to the Green Party, this is not, dump the corruption party we're building. It's a
movement.
A movement that we're building, and we hope that candidates from different parties will pick it up and run with it.
Yes, and also we ought to identify it as a democracy movement.
Yes,
that would be good for all of the alternative parties that are locked out of the present system.
You got that right.
That this is a chance to change the present system, so all the parties can come in and can have a shot at sharing in power.
Exactly. And Joe, I apologize, but I need to go now.
Okay, Madelyn, that's quite fine. I quite understand. And I thank you very much for participating.
My pleasure. We'll talk soon, I'm sure.
Have a good night, Madelyn.
You too. You too.
Okay,
and
thank you.
Stay strong. Good night.
Good night. Okay, so that leaves the three of us. Uh, do we have anything else to talk about this evening other than uh, the comments we're getting from our people? The larger team, we might say.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything you want to add, Greg, before we go to the comments?
One thing I would also like to add is as we're growing, and I can actually see our team, our panel here growing. We'll grow into something big. I'm feeling confident in that, and eventually, it would be nice to also create state by state chapters of dumping the corruption and all that, and have like a set of what we are wanting to do. Just have like the whole movement and have like everything we stand for.
Yes, I think that's an idea we've mentioned earlier. I think it's a very good idea, and that we ought to implement setting up a state by state architecture, okay, as well. Just when and how soon, I don't know, but I do agree that this panel will be expanding. I hope we can get Pat the Burner to come on board and Lila Charles Lee to come on board. And of course, I hope that after these holidays are over, that Lisa will be coming back as well. So that would give us, okay, another 3 people in the short run. But I'm sure there are going to be some other people that we're going to want include here, okay, as well. So I see us expanding, okay, in terms of a panel, and I think that expansion would be very important. We want to expand our panel show to more people, but we also want to encourage
more panels to grow as well.
More panels to grow, okay, as well. So streamers and panels to grow. And yeah, I guess that's very, very important to do. And we ought to aim for that, okay, as soon as we can. Okay, let's see what our friends here have to say. And what ideas our friends have, and I'm sure they will have a few good ones. Okay, so Steve Wolfbrand says hello. Hello, Steve. And Dolores says hello to everybody also. And the New Jersey peace activist, okay, was Madelyn. And of course, she participated. And of course, she finally got on. Steve Wolfbrand says RBN, the Revolutionary Blackout Network, has a good graphics person doing their thumbnails now. They were just giving her props today. Well, if she would like to get involved with us too, that would be wonderful. And of course, I'll be talking to Fran soon, and if she will buy into this idea. Okay, she was very supportive of our efforts up until we started the recent round of the corruption things. At that point, when she did the basic graphic for the show, okay, we stopped talking of graphics, okay, at that time. And I've been wanting to find a role for her in this because I think that she would probably like to participate. So Kay said, Steve, what is RBN? The Revolutionary Blackout Network. Okay, again. And Steve Rose says maybe Johnny Tsunami could do some memes or phase. Not sure what you mean by phase, but if Johnny Tsunami was willing, uh, I certainly liked the work he did for the Convo Couch. I thought that um, he was very, very good. Okay, and as some of us may know, but some of us may not know, Johnny Tsunami is Johnny Mallorca, and he is Fiorella's brother. And Steve Wolfbrand says, K, Revolutionary Blackout Network, a popular YT channel. And K says, okay, never heard of that one. Steve says, K, check them out. Greg Mallard says, they're a very great show to watch. I suppose I should clarify at this point. They are more than one show.
They're a whole network.
Well, they're a team of streamers. There's Nick Cruz and Compton J and Rome. There's JB Font, of course, and Sabby Sabs is maybe the best known one at this point for streams. The way this started out, the person with the greatest number of followers was Nick Cruz, actually. I don't know how that has changed, though. I know Sabby has been growing very, very fast, and she does very good shows. Okay, not to mention that Nick does very good shows, too, of course. And Compton J, they all do good shows. They're a good group, certainly. Steve Wolfbrand says, Eric T. Red from Sabby Sabs may be far from meme teams. Well, I don't know, Steve. Yeah, maybe. I think that's certainly a good suggestion to explore. Greg has mentioned Cora Emanuel might want to get heavily involved in this.
Yeah, when I talked to him about it, he said that he was interested in jumping on board with our graphics team.
Great. Okay,
and Cora Emanuel, he's a great graphics artist, and I believe he would be a very good asset for us.
Okay, and Marissa Osbat, okay, is part of the Ragtag Band. Okay, and I think she may be the head of the Ragtag Band at this point. But, okay, she is very close to Mo, but to Mo's frame. Just to further identify her, but she's a great graphics person also. Okay, I worked with her during the fight to get Nancy Pelosi replaced in 2021, and she did wonderful graphics for us during that period.
There's also Amber Grigio.
Amber Grigo, who is also a favorite of mine. And of course, I will talk to her and see if she wants to help us out, if she has the time to help us out.
Yeah, what I'm going to plan on doing here after the new year and all the holidays is out of here is to also create a Discord server for Dump the Corruption as well, because I think that would be a very good, useful tool for centralized communications.
Okay, thanks. Tell me, do you think that's a better tool than Slack?
To me, uh, they're about the same. So one's not as good as the other, but I like Discord because it's the same thing.
I'm not sure I understand that, but we can talk about it further, and then I think I'll understand it.
Yeah, we'll have to have like Zoom calls as well over the whole course of all this. So that way we're all talking and all that.
Yeah.
And also, if we have to, if StreamYard does not host large scale panels, then we may have to do like a OBS over with Zoom to host like more larger panels with more people.
Yes, I know. I know. In my Zoom room, I can have much larger panels than StreamYard. Okay, at this point, and that is going to be necessary at some point. Okay, I know that. Uh, StreamYard is so easy to use. Okay, in many ways. So that's uh, sort of a natural thing to go to first. Uh, Also, an advantage of StreamYard is that you can live stream to many places simultaneously, and you're limited pretty much to one place by Zoom, as far as I know.
Well, with OBS, you can take and have it over the Zoom and all that, and share it out to multiple platforms through the OBS that you have to download. Jimmy could teach you about that.
Yeah, but I think Matt can teach me about that too.
Yeah.
But I think that Jimmy is pretty preoccupied with KRTD. Okay,
Yeah. Matt Waddy might be able to help.
Yeah, Matt withdrew from things for a while after we left the KRTD. Okay, he just, I think he became discouraged by the whole political scene. And he withdrew.
Yeah, he probably just needed to take a break.
Yeah, that's what I think. But I am close to Matt, and I will get back to him after the holidays and find out how he's feeling. One thing is that uh, he was wondering. He had his doubts about whether Dump the Corruption could be successful. I think with the changes we have recently made with Dee and Brandy and yourself and Madelyn, now all getting involved, okay, and Dump the Corruption. Uh, he may have a different idea about the prospects. In other words, getting more people involved can certainly change attitudes. And the fact that we're now going to have multiple streamers contributing, if we can get Pat and Lila involved too, I think that may change Matt's view. Or maybe it just would change because, he's taking a break and he now wants to get involved again. But he can certainly help in setting up a Discord server.
Mm-hmm.
He's really experienced now, okay, in doing that. And of course, uh, uh, he can help with websites, and he can help with project planning. okay, as well. He knows Canboard quite well by now, and Slack also.
Oh yeah, I've used Slack plenty of times.
Yeah, so have I. And in the cases I've used it, it was Matt who set it up. So he's cool with all that stuff. Uh, he can also get involved with us in the panels for Dump the Corruption if he's come around to thinking that uh, we can accomplish something with it. So I'm going to
I
hope.
think we'll accomplish a lot. I'm confident in it.
Yeah, I know you are, and I thank you for that. Okay, and I know Dee is also very highly committed, and Brandy seems to be very committed too.
And also Madelyn.
Madelyn has jumped aboard also. So
That's good.
yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm a very happy man, and I haven't even gotten back to. Well, there are some people I haven't gotten back to that I have to get back to. Robert Copeland says, I have seen politicians that uh, don't take big money actually win against politicians who actually take big money at the local level. Yeah, that's right, Robert. And I've seen politicians win over politicians that are taking big money at the national level, even. Of course, there are cases. Generally speaking, when they first got elected, the squad wasn't taking any big money at the time, except maybe for Presley. I don't know, she might have been taking a little. I didn't study her that carefully. Uh, okay, I don't think Bowman was getting any big money, though. I don't think Cori Bush was getting any big money. I don't know whether that's changed. Steve Wolfbrand says, oh, I'm pretty sure Summer Lee wasn't getting any big money, by the way. Uh, and I don't think Greg Hussar was getting any big money either. So, yeah, there are a lot of cases where people not getting big money are beating the people who are getting big money. But, there are a lot more cases where the people getting the big money were able to beat the people who weren't getting the big money. Too many cases where the better candidates were defeated because they did not have the big money. And also because they were not running dump the corruption campaigns, in my view. Steve Wolpert says, Robert, my city councilwoman just did an amazing upset. She's socialist. She beat the corporate Democrat racist Gil Cedillo. Steve, who was your city councilwoman who did that? Kay Ryan says, great, Steve. Robert Coleman says, a city council member did the same thing back on Super Tuesday back in 2020 when she beat an incumbent who took big money. Oh, Ulysses. Yeah, Ulysses Hernandez. Yes, I forgot that. Thank you for reminding me, Steve. We also have Anithya Raman. She did the same thing. And Kenneth Mejia, who won as city controller. Yes, a Green who takes no big money. Well, did he run as a Green this time, Steve, or did he run as a Democrat for city controller? I'm just asking. Okay, so sounds like you guys had a good run. Steve, Kenneth actually ran as a Democrat, says Greg.
Yeah, that's what it says on Ballotpedia.
And Robert Copeland said, I heard Kenneth Mejia had a great ground game. Yeah, well, he had been building it by running as a Green a number of times. He had built a very good ground game. Greg says, Kenneth ran for Congress twice, first as a Democrat, then as a Green. I worked hard on his first campaign. I think controller is a nonpartisan position, but I could be wrong. Steve said, so maybe you're correct, Gregory. And Steve says, yes, Robert, he has a nice following and beat a corporate guy. And Steve Wolfram says, K, yeah, a good start. Steve says that Nithya ran as an outright socialist. The next Kishama Sawant, right? Robert Coleman said, I got contacts both in the Green Party and the Peace and Freedom Party in Sacramento. Maybe approach Burn It Down with Kim Brown. And Neo's algorithm has started a small YouTube channel. Neo's algorithm, that says. Steve Wolfbrand says, tell Fran I said hello. Faze was producing Hardlands Media till recently. He's on another project now. Kay says, not crazy about Sabby. And Steve says, Kit was on this libertarian stream right before this. His name is Larry Sharp. He might be interested in dumping corruption. RBN was also on his show. Thanks, Steve. Larry Sharp show. Steve says, Extra Bola is pretty cool and might be interested. You're speaking, Kay, of Warren Dearman, of course. They are cool, Steve. I'm thinking Neo's algorithm would be willing and would fit right. He's actually on a parallel mission. Thank you, Steve. So how do I get a hold of Neo's algorithm? Kay said, okay, guys, I'm out of here for tonight. Love you all. We love you, Kay. Thank you for coming. Okay, so I guess we're through the comments. Got to remember all these names. Steve.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be a bad idea to also, going forward, we should all be writing these names down so that way we can
we can keep track, because that way we can keep track of things.
Yeah. And put them all like in a safe place. That way we can go back and look at who we should contact and such.
That would be one of the advantages of having a Discord server or a Slack.
Yeah, it would.
We do that sort of thing.
Come on, Matt. Come on.
Okay, I'll talk to Matt. I might even talk to him before the new year.
I just hope he's doing okay. That's all I care about.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, Matt's a very good friend of mine. So, yeah, he and I left RP together.
I left with Dolores.
Oh,
And D and I left with D and Jimmy. All of us left at the same time. I think that was like the biggest. Wave.
Well, it's just like enough is enough. We just were taking it out brink.
We had 4 people: myself, DC Rutledge, Andres Bernal, and Matt.
And then shortly after that, Sam Hollenbeck left as well.
I remember that too. Yeah. I guess there were a steady stream of people have left Steve. And yet he's been able to keep going. So, anyway, I think we're done with the comments. Okay, unless either of you would like to offer something else.
Like, share, comment, subscribe, and follow.
Right.
And hit that notification bell.
Right. And please note my Patreon account and my Buy Me a Coffee account. I'd appreciate that.
See you back here tomorrow night.
Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow night. And I guess what we'll do tomorrow night is we'll kind of summarize all this. There are a lot of things to summarize and talk about further. Hopefully, Brandy will be back by then, and hopefully, Madelyn will come also, and that we will have a full complement by then. So, good night, everybody.
Yeah, have a great night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Night, Bonnie.
Hi.
Okay.